Hey guys, Power 5 Fanatics here again with another video for you guys. It's this week we didn't have any, playoff eliminator video just because there wasn't a whole lot of shuffle.
Yeah,
after
there's
week
not a whole lot of
12.
teams to eliminate at this point.
Yeah, at the top of college football, there was just a lot of undefeated teams, and now they might have one loss, and they're still kind of in it. We'll have to see if they lose another game or how the rest of the season plays out. But as of right now, there wasn't any new eliminations. So we thought, being in late November now, heading into week 13, it might be a good time to start looking at some of these head coaches and kind of their resumes and seeing, at least who we think at the current time, who might be the coach of the year's candidates.
Right. And I'll start with one. I think PJ Fleck is going to be on a lot of people's radar.
Yeah.
The head coach of Minnesota. When he got to Minnesota, 2017 and 18, he was pretty much a 500 coach. Which you would think that's pretty much how Minnesota is. And then this year, boom, just out of nowhere. They started slow at the beginning of the year. Then they just have had a crazy year. Got to 9-0, which was their best start since 1904.
Yeah.
So that's pretty impressive. I know they had their loss to Iowa this last week, but they're 9-1, and the Big Ten West is still right there in front of them. And anyway, I definitely think PJ Fleck should be considered. Another coach. This one would also be another Big Ten coach, Tom Allen from Indiana.
Yeah.
He's been there, I believe this is his fourth year, from 2016 through 2018. He was pretty much a 500 coach like PJ Fleck, which I would say, honestly, that's pretty good at Indiana, I would say, as far as football goes. This year, they're much better. They're 7-3 at this point, and they've been just they've been like in most games. I think their worst game was against Ohio State.
Yeah.
But that's usually most people's worst game. But they've been there. They've been fighting hard. Penn State, Penn State actually beat them this last week, 34-7. So they're not an easy out for anybody. But I think Tom Allen's doing a great job because that's not the easiest place to coach at. My last candidate would be a group of five. Team, SMU, their head coach Sonny Dykes. He's really been successful everywhere he's been. This is his second year at SMU. Last year he was 5-7. This year they're 9-1.
Right.
And their offense may be definitely top 5 offense probably in college football right now. They just score a lot of points and they outscore people. And definitely I think he's a candidate for Coach of the Year also, Sonny Dykes.
Yeah, I mean, he's been a great quarterback developer his whole career. He was at Cal for a while with Jared Goff, and, Jared Davis Webb was there, who became a backup at the Giants. And then now he's doing something at SMU that hasn't been done in 25 years since the death penalty, which has had them ranked even. I mean, I don't even think they ended up in the top 25 poll, did they? Until recently?
I don't know. I'd have to look back. If they did, it might have been one other time maybe.
Yeah.
But they were in there briefly. Now they're actually
consistently in this
there.
thing.
Yeah.
And they're 9-1 now.
Their only loss was to Memphis, by the way. Memphis is probably going to win that conference.
Who's also 9-1,
Yeah.
And in fact, that's actually one of mine that I'm going to talk about, Mike Norvell. Of course, he's a hot candidate for, potentially taking another job down the road, which is unfortunate for some of these group of 5 teams. They get a good coach in there, and it's kind of a stepping stone job for a lot of them. Who knows? He may end up staying there. But he took over for Justin Fuente, who left to go to Virginia Tech, I guess, at the end of the 2015 season. And they brought in Mike Norvell, and he started in 2016. And they've got a nice 35-15 record overall with him.
Yeah, he's been winning the whole time, but he's really got him on a roll right now.
Yeah, he does, and they play a physical brand of football. Running downhill, their running backs are strong. They got a pretty good defense. So I really like the brand that he brought to Memphis. So he's definitely a candidate that I would consider at this point. Another one is Ed Orgeron. This guy, he's kind of been through a lot as far as his coaching career has gone. He started off at Ole Miss a long time ago, back in 2004, 2005. That kind of range, and didn't do very good. kind of got secluded back into coordinator type roles for the next.
USC, I believe, was where he's at next. Is that right?
Yeah. So then he ended up at USC, and he ended up, I guess, as an interim coach there back in 2013, and they did pretty good. I think they won 6 games. They went like 6-2. But again, that previous stint with Ole Miss kind of cursed him, and he ended up just kind of bouncing around there. Well, then Les Miles, kind of gets to the end of his career at LSU, and, they fire him mid-season, and they're looking for an interim, and he's kind of the guy that's got the experience. He's been around some of these players for a while, so they hire him up, with a lot of people's intentions of eventually replacing him at the end of the season. Of course, Tom Herman, which ended up at Texas, was one of their main targets, as well as Jimbo Fisher. And they got neither of those guys. And at the time, it seemed like, they lost the coaching search. They ended up with a guy who
there was probably a lot of fans who were like, maybe
wanting Tom Herman or Jimbo Fisher, because those guys were kind of the hot names, out there. Jimbo Fisher with a national title, and Tom Herman with Houston just kind of being the next, hot name. So he was kind of viewed as that secondary, stepchild choice. Well, they stuck with him. They gave him the next year, and they went.
He did it the old-fashioned way. He's just earned it the whole way, and it's everything's coming to fruition for him now, and they're one of the favorites to win it all.
And they go 9-4, and then the next season people are still like, it's just kind of a fluky year. LSU's got a lot of talent. They go 10-3, and then this season, they come back and they've got a senior quarterback, and now they're 10-0. So, I think it's time to start giving this guy some credit, giving this guy his due respect, because he's a great coach. And the last guy we got here is Matt Rhule, and I really respect this guy. He's
with Baylor.
Yeah, from Baylor. Sorry, he's with Baylor. He's actually a guy. I think he played at Penn State back when he was a student there. He played middle linebacker. He's kind of coached everything. He's not really a defensive guy or an offensive guy. I think you'd probably consider him an offensive guy because he coaches like a power spread type of offense. But the guy has coached everything: offensive line, linebackers, receivers, quarterbacks, literally everything. He's just kind of a jack of all trades. And he comes in after this, wretched, cursed program, ending type of situation for Baylor, where they had Art Briles, and they had over 50 sexual allegations, proclaimed over their program, and it seemed like it was just a completely riddled.
Yeah, it looked like they're going down the tubes back to where they were 10 years ago.
Yeah, and this guy comes in. He doesn't have the players because a lot of the players transferred out, including,
Stidham.
Jared Stidham, who went to Auburn to join Gus Malzahn. And that's where a lot of the Baylor players went, actually, was to Auburn. And he didn't have a lot of talent. He had a terrible reputation with the program he was coaching at, and they went 1-11 that first season. But then they bounced back the next season, and they go 7-6. They kind of went out there. They beat Texas Tech at the end of the season and become bowl eligible, and then they go and beat Vanderbilt in the bowl game at the Texas Bowl. And then the next season comes around completely ahead of schedule. They're not really supposed to be as good as they are right now. They don't have the depth that you really need to kind of compete at the highest level. Well, here they are. They're 9-1 and almost beat Oklahoma. So.
And with a real good shot to win the Big 12 still. Because they're probably going to be in there unless something crazy happens.
Really good shot there.
My pick, Drew, as far as the 6 candidates that we talk about, mine's P.J. Fleck, and the reasoning is just, he's doing what hasn't been done there in over 100 years. So that's got to be worth something. And the Big Ten really has been a pretty good conference this year. Definitely the second best. And liking what he's doing a lot. Really, no matter what happens the rest of the way, I think they pretty much already stamped it down. This is a great season for the Golden Gophers. But
yeah, I have to agree. P.J. Fleck has had a fantastic season. I think my pick at this point would have to be Matt Rhule. If you just look at his total progression from what he's done at Baylor already, starting 1-11 with a completely cursed program, it seemed like. And then having turned it around in 2 seasons to where they're at now, where they're
maybe didn't have the players.
Players, but they're competing at the highest level with a lot of these great programs like Oklahoma. And here they are, So that's probably who my pick would be, but it's been a fun season, especially for some of these non-traditional powerhouse type of teams. Baylor, Minnesota, Memphis has got a great coach. Indiana's up there, SMU. Some of these different types of teams getting some new blood in college football. Kind of getting to experience it as a college football fan has been fun so far, watching these guys progress. So
let us know what you think, guys. Who you think the Coach of the Year should be in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe. We appreciate you watching, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.